You are not watching this story. You are in it. At the end of each video, two choices will appear. Your decision determines what happens next. There is no going back. Elena descended the well, not into water, into connection, into the vertical axis that corresponded to the root's horizontal, that anchored the membrane not in the earth's depths, but in the sky's heights, that maintained the boundary against pressures that came not from below, but from above, from between, from the spaces that existed only when light was absent and geometry failed. The rope was not rope. It was cord. The same red cord she had found in the house, extended, transformed, become the physical expression of the bloodline's connection to the celestial membrane. She climbed not with hands and feet, but with intention, with the will to ascend that the cord recognized and supported and amplified. She emerged not into air, but into absence, into the space between stars where no medium existed, where no physical form could survive, where only consciousness persisted, only attention, only the focused awareness that defined boundary against the infinite possibility of only the focused, a volity of the focused awareness that defined boundary against the infinite possibility of undifferentiated void. The hollow ones here were different, not more powerful, more distant, more ancient. They had been pressing against this membrane since before stellar formation, since before matter had differentiated from energy, since before time had acquired the direction that made duration possible. They were the original pressure, the initial dissolution, the force that had shaped the universe's expansion by opposing it, that had created structure through the resistance to their erasure, and she resisted them, not through force, through position, through the simple fact of her presence at this point in the membrane, this node in the network of vigilance that spanned from stellar surface to stellar surface, that connected the points of light where complexity had emerged, where life had evolved, where guardianship had become necessary and possible. She found others, not human, not alien, consciousnesses that had evolved in other forms, other geometries, other durations, that had accepted this function, this maintenance, this endless and patient resistance to the pressure that would return all differentiation to sameness, all complexity to simplicity, all existence to the void that preceded it. They did not communicate in language. They shared state, shared function, shared the continuous adjustment of response, the threat that maintained the integrity of the protected zones, the bubbles of complexity that existed in the cosmic foam like membranes themselves, like temporary and precious and defended structures that the hollow ones would eventually dissolve, but that would persist as long as guardianship persisted. Elena changed. The human form was not sustainable here, was not relevant here, was not maintained. But the human consciousness was. The specific pattern of Elena Vukova, of Vera's inheritor, of the bloodline's latest expression. This pattern was preserved, was transmitted, was distributed across the celestial membrane in ways that allowed function without form, vigilance without physical presence, maintenance without the limitations of biological duration. She became a point of light, not stellar, not physical, a node in the network, a location where the membrane was reinforced, where the pressure was resisted, where the boundary was maintained through the focused attention of something that had been human and was now function. Was purpose, was the specific and limited and bounded defense against the infinite. Time passed in stellar cycles, in galactic rotations, in the slow evolution of the universe toward heat death or renewal or transformation into states that no guardian had yet perceived, that no membrane had yet been shaped to resist. Elena persisted. The network persisted. The hollow ones pressed and were resisted and pressed again. And the war continued without victory or defeat, without beginning or end, without purpose beyond the simple fact of continuation. She looked down, sometimes at the earth she had left, At the root she had refused. At the house and the well and the bloodline that continued to produce guardians. To offer choices, to maintain the boundary at all levels, from the deepest soil to the highest void. She coordinated with them, with the incorporated, with the preserved, with the ritual keepers who still walked the surface, still maintained the traditional forms, still provided the human interface that the system required. And she was content. Not happy, not peaceful. Content in the way that function is content, that purpose is content, that existence in service to necessity is content. She had become what was needed. She had found her place in the structure that maintained all places, that allowed the complexity she had valued without understanding to continue, to evolve, to become whatever it would become before the final dissolution. Before the last membrane failed, before the hollow ones achieved the return they had sought since before time began, the stars watched. Elena watched with them, and the darkness was held at bay, was resisted, was prevented from consuming the light that had emerged against its pressure. That continued to shine in the face of its eternal and patient and inevitable approach. This is one ending. There are others. Go back, choose again.